Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Jeff McMahon, watch addict, fellow watch addicts. I direct messaged Rob of the Random Rob channel this morning. I said, I sent you a Seiko SLA 051, the Umira, and I can't sell it. So take your time with it. Love you, trust you. You write a review of it, and whenever you're done with it, send it back. I'll pay for the shipping. Felt relieved. I just couldn't sleep. The idea of selling the Umira, just oh my God, the build quality is insane, and so I probably would have rebought it, and would have ended up buying maybe the blue dial version, the limited edition, which cost $3. I probably would have got 2 for the sale. Would have cost me $1,000 to get a blue dial. That's a lot of money for a dial change. Lord have mercy. Let's talk about rebuying watches. I've addressed rebuying watches before, but I want to give you all the secret motivations for why we do it. I want to give the definitive analysis. You know, the casual observer wouldn't make a big deal out of it. They would just say, oh yeah, you sold a watch and you rebought it. It's a lot deeper than that. So let's go over the common reasons for rebuying watches and then get to some of the more disturbing reasons. So the first reason that a watch obsessive will sell a timepiece is to make room for a new timepiece. Because when you get a new timepiece, you want to have the honeymoon. And you want to create a safe space for your new honeymoon grail timepiece. So the honeymoon's going to fade, it's going to subside, and you're going to begin to miss the watches that you sold for that honeymoon to create the safe space for the honeymoon. And that's number one reason for the rebuy. The second reason is that you become anxious when your collection gets too big. The stress of trying to give wrist time to all your watches can give you a nervous breakdown. So you persuade yourself into believing that a lot of your watches are disposable. You can sell them. And they're not. And you end up rebuying them. The third reason is that you simply just don't have time to wear your watches, and you don't wear them a lot, and you don't bond with them. And I don't wear my MM300 or my Tuna enough. They're kind of big. I'm sorry. I mean, they're amazing. They're amazing. I mean, oh my God, if I sold them, oh God, it could be a rebuy situation. But you know, they're quite amazing. And what's happened to me is I've sold watches that I didn't bond with, and then I would see myself, a photograph of me wearing it like 2 years later, or a video, and I would say to myself, oh my God, what a beautiful watch. What was I thinking selling that remarkable timepiece? I need to get it back. The fourth reason is you just want to fund a purchase. And so you start selling off watches to fund a purchase, but then after the honeymoon's over, you realize, oh, I shouldn't have sold those to fund that purchase. So that can be a problem. Now, the fifth reason for rebuying is more complicated, and it's the reason I put the Seiko MM300 SLA 021 and the sapphire version of the Seiko Tuna. Funny, this is not selling in general. I think Seiko Tuna fans are more into the Hardlex Dome Crystal. I don't get the sense that the sapphire versions are selling or is loved. Anyways, that's a different story. So the fifth reason for the rebuy, this gets interesting. There are certain watches that you have that you would just love looking at them, and these are two right here, the Tuna and the MM300, and that's why I have them in this video. And there's a disconnect between the visual appeal of the watch and the quality. I mean, the quality of these watches is insane. These watches are amazing, but then there's just not a lot of wrist time. You put the watch on, and about 10 minutes later you take it off, or an hour later. And this happens a lot with the Tuna in the MM300. And here's the thing. You can't pinpoint the exact reason that you're not connecting with the watch. it might be a little heavy, it might be a little blingy, but really you can't pinpoint it. All you know is that you're tormented by owning it and not wearing it, but you're also tormented by selling it and longing to rebuy it again. And it's like, oh my God, why am I even into watches? Why do I have to deal with this kind of unnecessary misery? It's just ridiculous. And so now I'm going to get to the more pathological reasons for selling and rebuying watches. Adolescent girls, and I've talked about this before, they do this self-harm, cutting, and they create a superficial wound or injury, and it's pretty bad. And it could be a sign of anxiety, depression, or whatever. I think in regards to watch obsessives, we want to experience this loss of selling a watch that we like so we can have the drama of wholeness and healing and well-being. I think because to experience that wholeness in real life is really difficult, but to experience it in our little ecosystem of watches is a lot easier. And so I think the inferior facsimile of real life change through a rebuy is much easier than real life change. I mean, I'll give you an example. I would love to eat 3 meals a day of like 600 to 700 calories a meal and lose weight. I just can't do it. I get angry, and it shouldn't be that difficult, but it's just, oh God, it's discouraging. That would require real discipline and real change. But rebuying a watch is relatively easy. It's kind of a pain in the butt. It kind of annoys me, to spend the money and go through all the fake drama. And so I want to go finally to the last reason we rebuy watches: nostalgia, memory, childhood. Do not underestimate the drama of childhood and nostalgia when you buy a watch. Think of how joyful and relieved you are when a computer expert comes to your house and recovers all the data on your crashed hard drive. I think the same joy is experienced when you rebuy a watch. To give you an example of how powerful this impulse is to recapture the past. So in 1968, Kellogg's made this toaster pastry called Danish Go-Rounds. Many of you won't know anything about it. Danish Go-Rounds were this upscale version, sort of the SLA version of the Prospects Kellogg's Pop-Tarts, if you will. And Danish Go-Rounds were so addictive. Millions of Americans would wake up at 2 a.m. in cold sweats. Oh, I need the nectar of the gods. Oh, worry, worry, worry. Where are my Danish Go-Rounds? And then, inexplicably, I believe it was around 1978, Kellogg's stopped making Danish Go-Rounds. Yet they continued with their cardboard-like, Pop-Tarts, the Seiko 5 version of a really nice toaster pastry. And the result, a lot of us were denied Danish Go-Rounds. We'll never get the Danish Go-Rounds again. They're gone. So how do we fill that hole in the heart? Well, we rebuy the Seiko Tuna for the 10th time. This is a way of re-dramatizing our childhood loss. Oh, worry, 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 worry. I mean, regardless of your motivation for rebuying a watch, you got to realize this hobby is tormenting, man. So we got to move forward, ladies and gentlemen, with some humility and caution. And Rob was very gracious. He's going to review the SLA 051. He's going to send it back to me. And now I don't have to rebuy the watch. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you have some rebuy nightmares. Tell me what you think. Until next time, I'm out.